Now you might say, we're never going to produce something like this, right? But this is an extreme example. I mean, I'll give you a more germane example. The most obvious app that any government can think of to produce is a timetable app for the bus system or the train system or something like that. And a timetable app is a great idea because it's going to save you money versus paper timetables. The realization here, the takeaway from this, is that you cannot make a timetable app because it is going to save you money over paper timetables. You have to make a timetable app that is better than using a paper timetable. If the technology, if the new thing is not better than the old thing, then people are going to hate your technology. And they're going to hate you because you don't understand technology. And they're going to assume that you and your technology are bad. And when you try to create future technology, they're not going to care because you already have a bad reputation. Because when it comes to technology, as with so many things, it's all about cultivating reputation. As an engineer, I live and die by my professional reputation. Governments, corporations are very much the same way. Consider, for example, the Microsoft Kinect. I don't know if any of you have played with a Microsoft Kinect or even heard of a Microsoft Kinect, but it's basically something that you attach to your Xbox. It's a video game, and you control the video game with your body. Not like a Wii where you're shaking a remote. There is no remote. It's just you. So if it's a dancing game, for example, you just dance and then the computer knows what you're doing. Well, when I heard about that, I said, that doesn't work. There's no way. That's crap. No, I'm not going to buy that. I don't believe it. Why would I believe it? It's made by Microsoft. When has Microsoft ever delivered on a technology promise? But you know what the funny thing is? The Kinect is awesome. Like, I had a friend who dragged me into trying the Kinect against my will. I didn't want to try it, and it was fantastic. It actually works, and it works great. You know, I tried it, and I was like, wow, good for Microsoft. To the point where I actually let Microsoft install Silverlight on my computer because the Kinect was so good that maybe Silverlight isn't terrible, right? I mean, that's how reputation works. Everything is going to be easier for you if you have a good reputation. Everything is going to be harder for you if you have a bad reputation. And so this stuff matters. Getting it right the first time matters. Putting the effort into something matters. There are a lot of people who get really impatient and itchy and say, let's just get it out there, let's just get it launched, and then we'll work on making it actually work and making it actually, you know, something that people want. But you know what? Nobody's going to come back. People just do not have that much patience. And especially when you're in the position of being, you know, again, a large organization, a government or a corporation, people are inclined to hate you. I mean, it's just the reality of it. It's sad, but it's true. I mean, you know, which sounds weirder? Ah, the government, I hate the government. Or, ah, the government's awesome. Nobody says that, right? I mean, some people do, but very few people. And there really should be more people, because here's the thing, right? The government goes by another name, which is the people, right? And so if people say, I hate the people, well, that doesn't make any sense at all, right? You have to get this right. Well, you might say that sounds like an awful lot of extra work. How are we going to do that and actually produce results? And the answer is by doing more with less. In other words, you need to sharpen your focus, right? I mean, this is something that a company like Apple, for example, really understands. Consider the original iPod. When this thing came out, so many critics were so critical because it really didn't do anything, right? It didn't work with Windows. There was no legitimate way to put music on it. It didn't, you know, it didn't even have an FM radio. Like, how is anybody, and it was like $500. Who's gonna buy this thing that only plays music for $500? Well, obviously we know how that ended up working out. One little improvement at a time, and they basically took over the whole world with this thing. Not because they came out of the gate and said, we're going to put every feature under the sun in here. Not because they had a committee come in here and make something that, you know, was going to satisfy every single bit of the constituency. But because there was vision, there was focus, and because somebody had the temerity to say no. That is the hard part. The part where you add features, the part where you do things that people want, the part where you make new things, that's the easy, fun part that everybody loves. The part where you say, no, 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 that's way out of scope, that's way too difficult, that is not the focus, this is what we're doing, we're going to do this first, we're going to do this well, no. That is the hard part. That is the adult part. I mean, that is the thing that we have to do as creators of technology. important thing is to revere design. To understand design and to appreciate design and to never consider design to be something that you add later, like a layer of paint on the house. Design is not the way that something looks. Design is the way that something works. This was Delicious Library. You may have never heard of it, but it was one of the most popular apps of all time. It was the first award-winning app that I worked on. It's made millions of dollars. It's, people have downloaded this forever. And more than that, more than its individual success, it really changed the way people think about apps. This was the first app to have that whole wood grain thing going. You may recognize it from, for example, iBooks, but that's because the designer who worked on this later went to Apple and had a major influence in the way that the stuff in macOS looks now, and the stuff on iPhone as well. The idea of this app, of giving the software a feeling of physical existence, as opposed to simply representing data, it was something wholly new. But more than that, it was not just a particularly beautiful application for organizing your catalog, because a beautiful application for organizing your books and your CDs and stuff, it has the same problem as any other application, which is that you have to sit there and type all the information, and after about a box of things, you're going to get tired of it, and you've just wasted your money. But with Delicious Library, you could hold the barcode up to your camera, your webcam, and it would scan the barcode and download all of the information from Amazon. So you could basically sit there and have your entire collection scanned in an afternoon. Now, this sort of thing is pretty common these days, but this was the first application to do that. So imagine the first time you ever heard about using a camera to scan a barcode. This was that for the whole world. That is not only a great design in terms of how it looks, not only a great design in terms of how it works, but it's a very practical thing. If something solves a practical problem and is not too hideous at the same time, I mean, that is, well, certainly it's the essence of Dutch design. I mean, this is something that has been familiar to designers in this country for a long time. The practical, but at the same time, the not so horrible. You can think of it as the Genever of apps. It keeps you warm, it's not too fancy. But there's something else here, right? That story about the barcode, the story about you hold your book up and it scans the barcode and it downloads it, that's a really good story, right? That's the kind of thing that you're going to remember. That's the kind of thing that is going to make you buy that app. And that's the kind of thing that's going to make you tell your friends to buy that app, right? This is what we call virality, or a little less trendy, marketability, right? You might have this question. Why is he standing here wearing a ridiculous hat? Well, this is not my most ridiculous hat. Not by a long shot. I have been known to wear a full mariachi costume and actually bring a mariachi band on stage playing music just to drive home this point. You have to have a story. Whatever you're producing, an app, technology, anything, there's a story, right? People have to tell themselves about it. People have to tell each other about it. Our brains work by creating and transmitting stories. So it's not so much that there has to be a story, there's going to be a story. The question is, are you going to write that story, or is the public going to write that story? Preferably, you will write that story. If you have something that you're about to introduce and you don't know the exact thing that people are going to say about it, the exact thing that people are going to tell their friends about it, then you do not have something that is guaranteed to be successful. If you show me something and say I'm going to sell this and I can't tell what that story is, then I cannot assume that it's going to succeed. But if you have a hook, if you have something that's really interesting, if you have something that is maybe even only peripherally related to what the thing actually does, but it's a good enough story, then that's going to be transmitted. I mean, consider, for example, right, something much more interesting and complicated than anything anyone in this room, including myself, will ever do, and that is the iPad 2. An amazing piece of technology, the state of the art. Faster, thinner, and lighter than the original iPad. How boring is that? What a horrible story. Oh yeah, it's a slightly improved version of the thing that already exists. You already have an iPad, why would you buy an iPad 2? Because it's slightly better? No. Because it has magnetic smart covers. These magnetic smart covers are really a trivial thing compared to the actual iPad. But this is the thing that made me say, actually, maybe I will go wait in line to get one of these new ones, because that's actually really cool. I really want to play with that. And that was the thing that I showed people when I showed people the new iPad. Check out the magnetic smart cards. That was the first thing that everybody played with. I mean, everybody knows what an iPad is. Nobody turned the thing on. I mean, maybe they played with GarageBand a little bit, but this is really what did it for them, right? This is a hook. This is the thing that somebody is going to remember your app. This is the thing that somebody's going to buy your app. This is the thing that somebody's going to tell their friends to buy your app. This is how you go viral. This is how you go all around the world. Marketing is buying users. You cannot afford to buy all of your users. You can afford to buy a small amount of users, and then those users will tell other people until you have a chain reaction based on your marketing push. That's what you're going for. That's why that marketability is so important. So all of this can be yours, but how? Well, it just so happens that there are people who think about technology all the time. People who are very eager to talk to you. And those people are the technologists. Folk like me, right? We're the people who make technology. Technology comes from technologists, apps come from app makers. And the world capital of app makers is right here in the Netherlands. It's what we talk about when we talk about Appsterdam. You know, Appsterdam is the world's most advanced infrastructure for app makers. It's a worldwide movement of app makers that's based in Amsterdam and all around the Netherlands. We have free workplaces for people. We have all kinds of lectures and opportunities for people to share their, the things that they're working on, or to share the work that they're doing. We teach people. We help people improve at the craft that they're doing. So whether people are app makers and they want to be better, or they want to become app makers, or they need app makers, we have all of these sorts of things covered. But we also do things like, for example, we have family activities. We get together and we support each other in a very real sense. It is a very real community in every sense of the word. This is where apps come from. These are the people that you need to talk to. And the best part of all of this is that it's all done by us. It's all volunteer. It's all community, by community, for community. It's 100% involvement of the people who form the constituency. It's exactly the sort of fantasy of everyone who's ever had a large pool of people, of actually having them get together and doing things to help themselves. That's what Appsterdam is. That's what we talk about when we talk about Appsterdam. And the thing about Appsterdam is that not only do we, talk about technology, we actually produce real results. We're bringing companies here to the Netherlands. We're creating jobs here in the Netherlands, and we're bringing the world's best technologists here to the Netherlands to take those jobs. We are actually having this effect. This is not a theory. This is not an idea. This is something that exists now. People are moving here. People are coming here. There are waves of them, and that's only going to increase. So the good news is, if you need to talk about technology, if you want to talk about how you can make things better, which may or may not involve an app, if you want to talk about making that big ball of open data something that people can actually use in their everyday lives, you want to talk to app makers. And when you want to talk to app makers, you want to talk to Appsterdam. That's us, that's me, that's what I have. Thank you.